I often use the quote, you name the price, I'll name the terms. Simon, can you talk about the difference between, price or the overall valuation versus just the terms in the deal structure?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because we don't always go with the party that delivers the highest price. And there's a whole host of things that you've got to bear in mind. You've got to look at the structure of the deal. How much cash are you getting on completion? What's the certainty of the deal happening with that party? And that's before you get into, is this the right party for our business? Is this going to be the right fit that drives the business forward? But there could be an element of there's some cash here today and there's a whole lot more cash tomorrow, but is that really going to be delivered? Are we going to meet earn-out targets or that deferred payment? So I think our job is to try and balance all of that with by each offeror and tell our clients, look, these are how the deals are structured. This is how much cash you're getting day one. This will be any, normalized working capital adjustment. This will be any future payment. And you've got to assess all those things on the analytical side before you get to the softer side and then go through the fit with the company. But yes, there's a difference between price offered and valuation. And that's particularly so if you're selling to a private equity house where you've got to take into account the terms of any reinvestment into loan stock preferred capital and what yields are applying there and what that may mean for the management team in the future. But all that, as long as it's numbers based, we can do that analysis, we can provide a comparison, but you've got to do that to be able to understand what, all those terms that are out there, bring them all together, and what numbers does it drive at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great points. Like I've always seen that I like to drill down to after-tax net proceeds to really give the clients an understanding of, hey, this is the amount of cash that you're walking away with. Bill, can you talk about that and how you manage that for your clients, getting from the headline valuation number all the way down to the debt-free, cash-free kind of position that they're going to be
Yeah, that's a great question. And just first of all, the debt-free, cash-free is something that business owners quite often don't think. And so we'll point out if they do have cash on the balance sheet, that's going to be theirs unless they have to leave money in because of working capital adjustment, which I know we'll talk about shortly. And the debt as well needs to be paid off. And sometimes that's a bit of a struggle to explain that. But once they understand that, yeah, we always talk about that top line deal value might not give you the metric that you want because you want to look at what you're going to walk away with after you close the transaction. What we say around here is 3 people show up at closing, the buyer, the seller, and the tax man. And the taxing authorities are going to take a big piece. And a lot of the way that a deal can be structured can be tax advantaged or maybe it's not as tax advantaged. And so we want to make sure that we understand the cash at closing, how much is going into escrow, what those terms are. Are there any contingent payments, any earnouts? Is there a note, any security with that note? How are accounts receivables being taxed? Because quite often that can be taxed at a top income tax rate as opposed to long-term capital gains. And we want to understand that and be able to, and then of course there's fees. There's the investment banking fee, the lawyers, and the other people who are going to help with the transaction. So we want to understand what that net amount is, which is worth so much more, or so much more important than the gross amount for the business owner.
Yeah, Michael, we want to add to that on just kind of, the net proceeds that you're describing to your clients and really the difference between that headline valuation and that net proceeds number.
Probably would suggest that before any transaction gets done, early on, the seller understands what the tax impact of an asset sale versus stock sale. It's very helpful for, our job is to maximize value, but when we're looking at this, we just want to understand what the difference is. A lot of clients tell us it has to be a stock sale, and then we find out the differential is only $1 million. And so that we need to factor that into making a decision and how important it is. So I would say that would be, obviously critically important. That's probably the only ad I have.
Great point.